meeting. Today, Thursday, July 28th, 2022. Welcome, everyone. I do like to take this time to acknowledge we do have Commissioner Paul Savas here with us joining this meeting. As he's a regular attendee, I just want to say I appreciate your time that you take to be here with us, Commissioner, so thank you. Establishment of a quorum, we don't have that yet. Adoption of minutes, we can't do that. So I guess we'll move to the chair's report. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
I have some quite a few things to discuss. So the first thing on here is the VAC summer recruitment strategies. So we've been talking a lot about how to get more, because we have quite a few openings. We actually have some renewals coming up as well. For recruitment, in terms of getting members, does anybody have anything specific that they want to discuss about that on the recruitment strategies? I kind of wanted to get more into the organizations that I was planning on having to discuss with us, come and discuss, speak with us and present to us. But does anybody have anything on summer recruitment strategies? I'll take that as a no.
So, and if I may, Adam, real quick.
Yeah, go ahead, Gus.
Yeah, I know Larry, you've got quite a few connections in the community. But let me ask this question. Does anybody have any connections with maybe some of our more underserved members of the community, like some of the cultural centers or the different associations or whatnot, to where we could maybe, market into those folks and say, hey, if you've got a veteran who's interested in having a voice on this Veterans Advisory Committee for their representative community, we would love to have them apply. Anybody have a connection with any, like the?
I've already given you the ones I've had.
Right.
If anything's coming out of it, but.
Okay.
Has Bernice called you at all?
Bernice, is this the pastor from the?
No, that's Matt.
Okay. Yeah, he hasn't returned anything that I've sent to him. I've called him and left a message.
Okay.
No.
I still stand on putting flyers at Portland VA Hospital and the clinics, because I've learned a lot just boarding an elevator at the VA hospital about certain benefits and certain groups. They have that all posted.
Lori, would you know who's a contact there at the VA hospital? Because they probably have a bureaucratic process to posting in their elevator.
I'm sure they do. I can get a hold of somebody I served with who I believe she's an EEO person right now at Bremerton, but she would know who to contact.
Okay.
Also, Carol Bernard made a comment in the chat that her daughter's Girl Scout leader works at the VA hospital. I could ask if she could give us a contact. So I appreciate that. Also, vet centers, right? We can also go to vet centers. That's another idea for recruitment, because you never know, you might actually get somebody, a veteran who works at the vet center who wants to join and be back potentially. Sure. Anything else in summer recruitment strategies?
Adam, since it's been mentioned, I don't think that we have a flyer for VAC recruitment. I know we've done it all electronically, but I'm not sure if we have a flyer.
Not that I've seen.
But at one time we were working on one.
Amy, do you know anything about that possibly, or?
I'd be happy to help create one for you if you'd like.
Okay. Yeah, that'd probably be the best thing to do.
So Amy, if I may, and Adam, if this seems appropriate, Maybe you, Amy, and I can come together in between now and say like the next exec board meeting. And we can even do it email a couple of times and then meet one time beforehand in a Zoom and just kind of put something together over the next couple of weeks that we could potentially bring into a draft at our next exec board meeting. Does that seem feasible or too ambitious?
We can make that work.
Okay.
Excellent, thank you.
And Adam, there's a comment in the chat too, if you want to.
Sure, hold on.
Okay.
Yes, Commissioner Savas, that's actually where that's kind of where we're headed in our next part of our discussion, is where I'm kind of wanted to head to. Because we did discuss this quite a bit in an outreach subcommittee, and I know we've discussed this in the back executive committee, and that is this, building a greater line of communication between the veteran organizations that we have here in the county, such as the American Legion, the VFW, the Mission Continues, the Corporal Diffie Veterans Fund. These are all organizations that are here in Clackamas County that could be not only a tool for increased outreach to veterans, but also for recruitment, as well as also to help facilitate some of the needs that our veterans have in closing that gap that we all have identified so clearly. So yes, to your comment, Commissioner Savas, that's exactly what I'd like to take the discussion towards. I have been in contact with Christina Wood. I'm sure you guys all remember Americo, who came to our last meeting, and we talked about the organizations getting involved. Christina Wood is with the Mission Continues, and I spoke to her yesterday, and we talked about the need for a more unified approach to what we're all trying to do, since there's so many of us organizations trying to accomplish similar things. We think that by working together, we'd have a better chance of less veterans slipping through the cracks. Also, it would probably be a lot more helpful to have more transfers between organizations when it comes to veterans who approach certain organizations that can't provide the.
You got muted by accident, Adam. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. You can warm transfer them to one of these other organizations that provides those services. So Christina Wood with the Mission Continues, she's going to put together a presentation for us for the next VAC meeting to present, to kind of go over what they do and how we can work together in solving some of the issues that we're all trying to work together to solve. That's one organization. There's also another one that is actually right now a local organization. It's actually all done through the American Legion. It's a DBA of the American Legion. However, it was started by our police officer here in Milwaukee, in our Milwaukee Police Department, and that is the Corporal Diffie Fund, the Corporal Diffie Veterans Fund. This is a fund. I actually met with our police department, did a ride along with them for about 5 hours, and I'm very thankful for our officers in our police department here in Milwaukee. They're absolutely absolutely fine people. And I had the pleasure of discussing with the officer who started this, sit down with him and discuss the things that they do, and their mission that they're trying to accomplish is closing the gap. And what they define the gap as is time frame between a veteran's need for help and when the existing veteran services are able to respond. So that's huge, because as we know, a veteran could be qualified for A to Z, but there's a time frame that it takes to get that stuff done, right? So there's about at least a 90-day time frame. Could be longer, could be shorter, we don't know, but typically it's about 90 days. So within that 90-day window, it can be a very, very crucial time for that vet. So I think that this is just one organization that can help us. They do a lot of financial aid for veterans to help them, pay for rent, or if they're behind on certain bills, medications, groceries, if they need groceries, things like that. And it's more of a local thing. It's just our police department that's doing it right now. However, they are working on reaching out to other departments such as Oregon City, Gladstone, and these other departments here that also want to get involved, that have an interest in doing so. Hopefully, what we're trying to do is make this countywide, or what they're trying to do is make this a countywide, a countywide service, pretty much. On top of that, I don't want to go too much into the story. It's a very compelling story for this young man. He's a Marine. He passed away, unfortunately. The story of what he's been through, and what happened is heart-wrenching, and it's very compelling, and it's what compelled our officer to do this. And Brad Warthall is the officer. Brad Walther is the officer who started this. He is a Marine as well. And anytime the officers come across a veteran, whether it's a homeless veteran, veteran suffering from mental health issues, which is what our police department receives most of their calls are mental health crises. They also have this veteran resource guide, which is a card that they came up with that has a list of all the resources that they have here, national resources as well as local resources on the front and the back. And anytime our officers run into a veteran, I don't know, my camera's not very good, but anytime our officers run into a veteran, they hand out this card. The cool thing I like about this card, and something that we could think about, is on the back, on the bottom of it, it has a detachable veteran contact card. And on it, the officer puts the name of the veteran, the phone number, the branch of service. They create a case and incident number for them. The officer puts his or her information there and notes on the card. They detach this card. They give the top half to the vet. The department keeps this half. They turn these cards into their department VSO, and the VSO, they stay in contact with the veteran and do check-ins regularly to make sure they're getting connected with the services they need. So again, it's another organization that does this. Again, it's local right now, but they are working on putting it together with the other local police departments. I think it's huge, considering how much mental health crises our police departments receive, calls they receive, and especially because that's what we're really focusing on, a lot of the things that we're talking about. So I'm really big on that. The officer is going to be, I invited him to come and present to us. I'm hoping that we can have some time at the next meeting. He's working on his presentation to try to trim it down a little bit because it is a little bit longer. But yes, I would like to have these organizations step up. And I'm not only limited to these organizations. There's plenty of organizations that we still have a lot of work that we can be doing with them. And Gus, I see your hand raised, so I'll go ahead and give you a chance to
Yeah,
talk.
and you said something that I think you said it yesterday when we were talking too, that I just wanted to check on. The department VSO, is that like an American Legion veteran service officer that's working with them?
I think, well, from what he explained, I guess each police department has like a somewhat of a VSO or someone there that handles their. I think it's either in the department or in the American Legion. I can't tell you 100%. I have to get clarification on that. But yeah, they do turn those cards in, and they do have somebody that contacts the veterans. And I mean, this could be another way for us, if we work together with the departments, then it could be, our outreach, in terms of outreach. This could be a way to build a database of the veterans, primarily the ones who really slip through the cracks. So that's what I'm feeling like is going to be most of the ones that these officers come in contact with if they're getting mental health crisis calls. So I think it'd be a great way for us to expand on that and again, use that benefit to help veterans get what they need in the time frame that they needed it. I'll leave it open to if anybody has questions or any other suggestions, or if anybody's have also heard of the Corporal District Veterans Fund. I know Betty Fish has. And actually, is Betty Fish here? I know, okay. Because I spoke to her as well. She's actually the new district commander for the American Legion here. So yeah, when I talked to her a few days ago, was it a few days? Probably a week ago. She was traveling around to the different posts in her new role. So I want to talk about that because I also want to use, obviously the American Legion is another big organization that we can use to work hand in hand with for our outreach purposes. And again, helping these veterans get connected with their benefits or whatever services that they need. That's our goal. That's what we're trying to do. Anybody else have anything in regards to that? Suggestions, comments, questions?
I think Larry has something.
I don't see, I can't see everybody. I'm so sorry. Let me try to fix this. Go ahead, Larry. Sorry.
Yeah, I'd like to get a copy of that card and maybe a contact information. The BFW 1324 is working with the Oregon City Police Department now. And we actually have given them $5,000 that they can use to help disabled or homeless veterans or something like that. Directly, they have the money. All they have to do is let us know what they're doing with it. But I think that Jim Band would be interested in something like, because I know he's doing a lot of things on the homeless issue, where he's working with other people. So I'd like to get that card and maybe the name of that other officer, and I will talk to Jim Band.
Absolutely. I will get all that information for you. And yeah, I thought this thing was really cool, that contact card that they made. I thought it was really, really nifty. But yeah, this is just where, where I'm headed and where we're headed, I think, in that direction. And again, like I said, the mission continues. We'll be here to also present just another organization that we can work with. There's so many out there. There's so many out there. And I think it's just going to be, it's going to be a lot better if we all come together, even for the county as well. And this could be potentially something that the commission looks into of finding funds for some of these organizations to work hand in hand with us to solve some of the issues that we're facing right now in the county. Any other comments or questions before I move on to the next topic?
What did you say the name of the veteran who inspired this was? You said that the police officer was inspired by a veteran he worked with that passed away?
Yeah. Yes, the veteran, his name is Samuel Diffie, was a Marine Corps veteran.
I knew him. Yeah.
You did?
I know,
Wow.
I know Samuel. He was in one of our programs.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't feel like it was my place to expand too much on his story. I felt like I'd let the officer, when he comes to present, say as much as he needs to. But I mean, you're more than welcome to discuss anything. If you feel to
He was
discuss
actually my
anything you'd like
client.
us to know.
He was my client. He
Wow.
was in the Veterans Rental Assistance Program. And he was really an amazing guy, but he was somebody who said he didn't need nothing, even though he clearly needed stuff. He needed stuff. And yeah, he was a hard one, really hard one. But just like amazing fortitude. But that fortitude, I think, may have been potentially the downfall as well, because he just was too proud to take any more. Wouldn't let anybody give anything. That's why I asked who it was, because I think I know the officer too. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm kind of like, I'm really happy that the officer had sort of started this program in relationship to him, because he was somebody who wasn't necessarily falling through the cracks, because he was in our program and getting some help, but he could have used more, for sure. But yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things where you say you're okay, you don't need anything, and you can't overstep your boundary. I can clearly see you need something. He had a lot of physical. It was just interesting to me how little he asked for, and how he couldn't move very well, and he still was like, I'll do it. I can do it. Amazing soul, really gentle, kind. Really liked him a lot. I didn't know him very long, but yeah. Sorry. I just
No, don't apologize.
for that. I don't know. I feel a little bit like shocked about it, I guess. I don't know. I'm not really sure, but thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing. I really appreciate that. And yeah, one of the things that I'm hoping to accomplish, I think what we're all hoping to accomplish by also working with these organizations, is hopefully break down some of these barriers, some of the trust issue that there might be between saying you're okay when you're really not. Because I know that can be, you know, I'm guilty of it too. I do that with my wife. I tell her I'm okay, but I know I'm not okay. And it's not that it's not that I don't trust her. I just don't trust talking about it because I've been hurt before from it. So I think this could go a long way in hopefully building some more trust and building a better relationship so that veterans feel a little bit better and more comfortable about saying they're not okay. So I thank you for sharing that, and thank you guys for doing everything that you did for him. I know it was a lot. I know it was, you know, we're not an easy group to deal with, that's for sure. But we need the help. We
I
definitely
would
need the
just
help.
say I was in a different role. So it wasn't a veteran service office role. It was a housing specialist role. So what I did was get him housed and paid his rent and checked on him. And that was the role that I was in at the time. But he was receiving 100% compensation. So he didn't necessarily need the VSO, but he maybe could have used something else, you know.
Thank you. I just want to get back to Commissioner Savas. Is this conversation kind of touching on what the comment that you made, sir?
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. If there's if there's not any other questions or comments, I would like to continue the discussion about the topic of family support and a debrief of Tracy's meeting with Jill from Camp Withicum. Is Tracy here?
Tracy is not here.
Okay. Then I guess we will continue the discussion about the topic of family support. Can we can continue that, right? Or was that discussion based on Tracy's meeting? Do we know? Or was it just a continuation of what we discussed from the previous meeting?
So Adam, my understanding was it was two-part. It was a continuation of the conversation was from last time. Now, mind you, I wasn't at the last meeting, so I do apologize. But my understanding was a continuation from that conversation and the hope of just hearing a little bit more from Tracy because she was going to be meeting with the family support specialist from Camp Withicum.
Okay. Thank you, Gus. I appreciate it. Does anybody want to continue the discussion about the family support? If nobody wants to start it, I can start it off.
Well, maybe Adam, what might help to kind of start some conversation is maybe a little bit of a conversation around what started this conversation for folks who maybe are trying to catch up to speed. If that makes sense.
Yeah. So just a quick I guess rundown on what this was about. We spent a lot of time discussing, you know, support for veterans and how to make sure we can provide them with as much as we can in terms of that support, aside from what the VA provides them, whether it's housing or mental health, whatever the services is that they may need. But there's also, you know, their family members that deal with a lot too. And I personally, this personally for me is just because I've seen what my wife has had to deal with me in certain instances. And it got me thinking about whether we have, you know, any family support services, which I know we do, but what type of family support services we have, and if we can kind of get that out there and let family members know that there are services open and available to them. So if they feel like they're in crisis themselves, they know that there's a phone number or organization or someone that they can speak to or talk to or meet with that can help them with that. And you know, my wife just did a couple of Zoom meetings actually with the VA for the caregiver program. And I thought this was actually really neat because it was about an hour and a half each meeting. And they were like classes really about suicide prevention, you know, what to look for, stories about other significant others dealing with PTSD with their veterans. And I thought that was very beneficial for her to hear from other people, to let her know she's not alone in some of the things she's dealt with, but also as an educational thing for her, so she can start looking out, not just with me, but maybe other veterans that we know and other veterans that she comes across, signs that she can recognize. So does the county have anything similar to that they provide? Or Gus, do you know if there's anywhere that they can go locally to do something like that, or is that strictly through the VA?
So if you're talking about a family member caregiver program around veterans in particular, or just even around people who are severely disabled, my understanding is there's not that for the most part. I mean, there's some low income based caregiver style programs, but it's mostly designed, and I'm doing this in a real generic sense, but it's mostly designed for folks who are low income.
Okay.
And need that next level care from a medical standpoint. But as you know, from the VA's caregiver program, it could be medical or it could be mental health. It could be a combination of both, or either or as well. So I would say that the county on the mental health side, not to the level that the VA offers. I mean, I think that there are some resources, but not to the level that the VA offers. Definitely not the stipend program as the VA caregiver program has.
Yeah, and it's not so. Thank you. It's not so much the stipend program. It was just more of the resource, because my wife and I, she's not doing the stipend. She's not receiving the stipend or anything like that. But it was just good to know that she has somewhere to go to, and she can get a little bit of training, I guess, a little bit of education about it. And not necessarily just for an official caregiver title, but just because not every spouse will be considered an official caregiver or has filed to be a caregiver, or not a significant other, or whoever it is that the veteran may be with. That person may be their caregiver, but just not official in that official capacity, but maybe taking care of the veteran. So just any type of resource like that, where it's like, hey, you can log into here and sign up for a class and get this class on signs and things to deal with, and then what to look for, and just other stories about how to deal with veterans with PTSD and mental health issues.
And I should say, because Amy and Felicia and Ken have been around the county much longer than I have, and so services, is there something that maybe I'm just not aware of that we might want to put out there in relation to this?
I would say, I mean, there's always NAMI who does classes specifically around like mental illness. But I do believe they do have something through generally through, I think it's like ADRC. It's not veteran specific, but where they kind of support caregivers who are, dealing with a variety of issues around, burnout or just stress. But I think it's nothing veteran specific per se, but NAMI would be the closest, I think, as far as mental health goes, where they have got support groups for families and offer different types of classes and things.
Okay. Yeah, the next I was going to ask about support groups. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I can tell you, Felicia's right on the money there, but Senior and Disabled Services, there's several other entities that might, if we look into this, finding the resources doesn't have to be veteran based. There are other services that are being provided. And again, even in the faith-based community, there's a lot of stuff going on too. So I'm doing a little bit of digging, a little bit of casework, and I'm sure that there can be some services provided.
Nice. Thank you.
So Adam, it really sounds like, unlike the VA, where the VA kind of is running this and gearing it and doing the work on it, it's not that we don't have something, it's that we have to connect with our partners in the community to provide.
Right.
Unlike the VA, where they actually employ people in programs and whatnot and funding to do like what your wife received, it sounds like.
Yeah.
And,
So again,
if I may for just a minute, Adam, I think part of this conversation around family support as well is recognizing the fact that, again, we have Camp Withicum very close by. And I know the commissioners are very interested in the relationship that we have with Camp Withicum, especially since many of their service members are transitioning, and that transition could look like they're transitioning straight out of the military into becoming a veteran, or they're transitioning while being in the military and serving, but they're also classified as a veteran. And so looking at how we network with the family support program that typically is part of that help for the transition for the National Guard Reserves, and how do we make sure that we're connected in with them whenever they do that transition? Does that sound about right, Adam? That's part of what started this conversation as well. Hence, Tracy wanting to meet with Jill at Camp Withicum.
Right, yep, absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. That's exactly what we were talking about in terms of working with Camp Withicum, yeah, because again, these it's all resources, right?
Mhm.
And the idea is to connect with these resources and kind of build a chain, so that way we don't have too many gaps. But again, yeah, I think that's why I wish Tracy was here to meet to discuss Camp Withicum. But does anybody have anything on Camp Withicum at this time? I know we have a couple things in the works with them for other topics, but as it pertains to family support. Okay,
Adam,
so
I
we
think
can-
if it makes sense, maybe this is an item we can continue to hold over to the next agenda and
yeah, we're
have
gonna
a,
have to.
yeah, and have a reach out to Tracy and just touch bases with her and kind of get her on the agenda for the next time to kind of give that brief and then look at possibly having Jill. I know at some point in our lineup of things, we want family support to come in and have a conversation with us.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're gonna have to move that to the next meeting because we got to hear from Tracy on that. So with that said, then we'll move on to the next discussion. And this is for you, Gus. This has to do with the veteran survey and a couple of questions that we're considering. So I'll hand it over to you, Gus, for this
All
one.
right. Thank you, Adam. So I'm just gonna do a time check here for us. I have 3:06 on my clock and we were slotted to start this at 2:55. So we're a little bit behind, but that's okay because we're having good conversation. And I also just want to say, if we don't feel like we've got a full answer during this meeting, I'll ask Adam if we can, revisit this as well later. But here's what I wanted to do is start the discussion on our next survey. Right, we just got our last survey done. We got the results. Adam and I had a great opportunity to go and present to the Board of County Commissioners about the survey results, along with a number of other things. And so one of the things that we did report to them is that we are going to do another survey, because that really helps us kind of guide what are the conversations and the deliverables that we as a council want to provide, right? So here are the two questions that come to mind. Based upon your own individual experience, either doing surveys or talking to people about doing surveys, my question would be, what amount of questions and or time to complete a survey would keep you engaged and finish it versus not? Because one of the things we identified in the last survey was it was a bit long at 23 questions, right? So it raises the question of how many questions, or how long should a survey take? And then the second one, probably the most crucial thing, is once you identify how many questions and how long it wants to take, what is it you as individuals on the back want to know? What do you think is most important as a council that you would want to know from folks? So, and Commissioner, since you're here as well, if you have some thoughts around that, we would be really interested in hearing that as well.
Okay, I'm listening intently, and if I have any ideas, I'm gonna proffer them right on up. So,
Outstanding. Thank you, Commissioner. Anyone? Oh, Larry's got his hand up. Got to unmute though. Okay.
Yeah, I had to get, I wasn't, yeah. One of the questions I think might, again, how many questions, the fewer the better, okay? But maybe 7 or 8, that's my own opinion, because you get more than that and you don't want to go through it.
Okay.
And not on multiple pages, try to get it, that other one was like 5 pages or something. And concise. Anyway, one of the things I'm thinking about, and I have, is that one of the things we're trying to do, Gus, is get those veterans that haven't signed up with the VA. So
Okay.
one of the questions would be, this is simple to me, but if you were a veteran, have you signed up with the VA? And then have, like question number one, A is yes, 2 is no,
Mhm.
but that's, I'm maybe putting it in 2, but basically ask them, why haven't you? And
Right.
maybe at the beginning, is part of what we can say is every veteran should sign up to the VA, even if he doesn't or she doesn't need something now, because you might in the future. Have you signed up with the VA? And and then you might say, why haven't you? If not, why not?
Right.
Don't ask them whether they have or not, but ask them why not. They
Okay.
tried and it didn't work. They didn't see any reason. Some of them are going to tell you, I don't know where to go.
Mhm.
So anyway, that's the one I've been thinking about.
Okay. And if I may, before I get to Adam, real quick, I will just offer, and this is just my opinion, folks can say whether or not they think this is a good idea or not. I think any question you ask is worth getting an answer. So I will say one of the biggest comments I got back from people was the fact that they could answer a question, they could choose not to answer a question. So I want to say, if we do an electronic survey, if you ask a question, it's mandatory you answer some capacity before you can move on to the next question. I think that will, even if an A is the answer, I just don't want to answer it, but I think if we, especially if we ask an open-ended question like, why haven't you applied? So Adam, and then I think I saw Felicia on mute, so we'll go Adam and then Felicia.
Thanks, Gus. Yeah, like just to touch on what Larry said, obviously the fewer questions is the better. I was thinking more around 5 questions. I don't know if that's too few, but I just felt like knowing that surveys that I've done, when I've seen 5 questions, I've been more inclined to be like, okay, yeah, I'm willing to. But I feel like when it gets closer to 10, it might be a little bit too long. If we can do it in 5 questions, if we can narrow it down, especially if we're targeting something specific. And then as far as the 2 things I'd want to know is benefits, if they're receiving them or if they've applied for them, and then mental health services, if they need them or know of any or are aware of the resources that are available to them. Yeah, that's it.
Felicia.
Yeah, I think those are really good. I think what you have to be careful about the have you signed up for, because there isn't really a sign up for the VA. It's more like, have you, I don't know, you'd have to wordsmith that a little bit, because there's no real sign up necessarily. There are rules for anything that you're accessing. So that might not be, maybe like, have you looked into any benefits? That sort of thing, because the only thing you can, the sign up language, we get that sometimes, and someone says, I just want to sign up for the VA. And it's like, okay, so then we go through a series of questions, So I just think it could be a little ambiguous, but I love the mental health question, and maybe changing it to, have you tried to access any benefits?
Thank you, Felicia. Thank you, Adam.
Yeah.
Larry. Anybody else? Any other? Oh, go ahead, Adam.
Lori has her hand up, sorry.
Oh, Lori, yes.
Yes, my comment is E1 through E4s on down are the ones that have been saturated with CBTs, and we need not the survey to resemble the CBTs. And by doing that, we might avoid having too many redundant questions, because some of them seemed kind of redundant. And the other thing is letting them know in that survey, did you serve in such and such, theater? Because that, and then have the next question, do you know you're eligible for thus and so? And it might be like a 2-tiered question, because if they know, a lot of them don't know, like with ringing in their ears, tinnitus, that they can get anything for that. But anyway, that's my comments. Avoid the redundant questions that remind the lower tier NCOs of CBTs. And the other one is, like I said, have a two-part question. Did you serve in Kuwait? Or, have a list of the theaters and then say, do you realize you're eligible for thus and so?
And Lori, if you wouldn't mind, what's that acronym you just used? Could you spell that out?
Computer-based training, CBTs.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Because they get saturated with them so
Okay.
much.
And before we get to RB, I'm just going to say this real quick. Amy does a great job of taking notes for us. And so as we're taking all of the notes down here, the beauty in this is that we can get our ideas down and then we can put that into a survey and then we can come back to them and say, okay, these are the questions and ideas that we had, but we know we want to get to this number of questions. So if we have, like 15 different ideas and questions, then we can start categorizing. Are a couple of these redundant that we could pull together, so we could get it within that 8 to 10, if that's what we decide on as far as questions go. So I think the more ideas, the better. We might see that there'll be some overlap in how we do that and avoid some redundancy. So RB, go for it, my friend. You're muted, my friend.
Yeah, like you mentioned, I much better, and requiring answers is a positive. But I also like the idea of having a non-mandatory blocker entry where people could add anything else that they might want to add about their veteran status and access to benefits. Because like you were talking about, asking about applying for benefits, the VA has like 6 different entities to apply to, or however many there are. So you might have successfully applied to one and completely failed in another area, or not known about another area. So I like the idea of some kind of people who do have a lot more to say, having the opportunity to say whatever it is they happen to want to.
So maybe having that open-ended optional question at the end. Is there anything else you want to share, kind of deal?
Yeah, and exactly. Especially if there's a question that's very open, where you can kind of get to the core of what it is that has been the primary obstacle. For example, what has been the greatest difficulty you found in accessing your benefits, or just something like that.
Yeah. And RB, you hit the nail on the head on something that I think is really valuable. I think that opening statement of the survey can really drive engagement in the survey. And I've been saying this since I've been here, and I'll continue to say this. A no yesterday might be a yes today. And I think that if we kind of convey that language throughout the survey of, hey, we really appreciate your connecting with us. One of the biggest things we really want to do is at the end of the day is get you connected, right? If you're not connected with your benefits, or you're not fully connected, whatever language we want to use, we want to make sure that that's the end result of the survey, is not just getting us information, but making sure that this veteran, because let's not forget 12 of the 50 some respondents actually said, yes, contact me. I want to talk to somebody about my benefits. And all 12 of them were contacted. And I think last I checked, it was either 3 or 4 basically were in our office getting benefits. And we had a couple of them that already were, so it's a different story. So. Anybody else? Other thoughts? I'm curious from our employment folks. You guys got some ideas or thoughts?
Absolutely. Always have something to say about anything. I think all of this is wonderful. I think you guys are promoting really good ideas through this. I would like to caveat off of what Larry and Adam were saying on the no double digits for questions whatsoever. No more than 9, I would say. And as a veteran myself, and as a younger generation veteran, I'm going to tell you right now, you will not keep my attention if it goes over 6 or 7. And so if you're focusing on the target demographic of veterans that you want to reach, whether it be, because certain demographics of veterans are accessing the VA and VA healthcare and VA benefits at different rates. And so what is the target demographic that you want to do? And maybe caveating off of different surveys for different age groups or theaters served in or something similar to that. It's creating more work for us, but at the end of the day, you're reaching everybody who needed to get this, and they're getting connected to that. That was an important factor that kind of kept running through my mind as we got through this. And then additionally, to go off of open-ended questions is enrolling into the VA, and understanding that we really want individuals connected to these benefits and these services. But at the end of the day, it is a choice, and understanding that trauma is very involved with the VA's experience and individuals' experience with the military and receiving benefits after this. And so would you like to be involved? How can we make this a better situation for you? Understanding the possible bad experience that you have had. And so not really just things to think about, really, is all I have to add. So thank you.
Yes, Larry.
I think one of the things we need to do is narrow down what it is we're trying to do in this survey. Because Corpora's right, but the thing is that in 7 questions, you got to start with this and then something that adds to that to get to the bottom. If we go too far, like whether you were a Korean veteran or a veteran, Vietnam veteran or Iraqi, a lot of this stuff isn't to me, isn't that different, because I talk to people and I think that, but that could be a good question, a good survey is what I'm saying, not a specific question on this survey, but we could do another survey where we ask those questions, splitting it up. You see what I'm getting at? Have one survey that's just going through what we really want as far as, all right, why haven't you, signed up, things like that. And then on another survey, we can break it down into other areas. I'm rambling on. Anyway, that's my idea.
No, and Larry, you get, before we get to Ken, I see your hand, Ken. And Ken, for Adam, if this is okay, for sake of time, we'll probably make Ken the last one, because I don't want to okay. But Larry hit the nail on the head, because the whole time I've been sitting here thinking, or listening, I've been thinking, one of the things that we definitely wanted to get out of the survey the last time was demographics, because it drives making sure that we're serving all communities, and and we identified that we didn't do a very good job of getting out to unserved communities, right? Or underserved communities. So one of the things, I don't know if you guys have ever noticed when you do like those short surveys where somebody will go, hey, would you mind doing the longer survey? And then you can opt into the longer survey if you want, back to Aubrey's comment, right? So there's something that we could employ in that. Now, I will just say one of the things that we have to do different this time than we did last time is if we do something like that, then the survey has to be done primarily electronic. We can't do paper surveys, right? Now, I can commit in my office that if we do electronic, we can make a way with some kind of technology to engage the people in our office, to have them fill out the survey, like when they're waiting for a VSO or something, or when we're on an outreach, we can have some kind of technology, and there's ways we can do that in our office. So I'm willing to commit to say that we can figure that out, right? With that said, the other thing I want to just say that was really prevalent in the last survey that I, as the VSO supervisor, hope isn't in this survey, is I don't really want to rate the VSO office in a survey, okay? And if we do that, I want to be specific to the people who've actually engaged our office. And then I want to do it in such a way that I have the feedback from them to where if there's things that I continually see with my team, I can address. I couldn't do that with the last survey. People would rate us like 3 stars, 5 stars, 2 stars, whatever, but they didn't tell us why. So I can't address that. You know what I mean? So I would offer in this survey, we need to kind of stay away from that thing of rating the VSO office as much as possible. or even if at all, let's focus on getting the veteran connected to benefits, and then we can come up with some kind of performance-based survey for people who access us, or that type of thing. So just a thought on it. Ken, go for it. You'll be our last one to wrap us up on this conversation.
All right, so as I'm sitting here thinking about this, what's easy to do is also very easy not to do. And people are going to come in and they're looking for services, possibly. It's what they don't know. If you guys get them, I want them, and they're looking for work, I want them to know that they can get that through the VSO office or wherever, any door that they go through for veterans. So in our next survey, that should, it doesn't have to be just service connected disability. It doesn't have to be just benefits of some kind. It can be anything. So maybe open a broad range of services, because you're looking for that hook. It's what they're looking for. And again, if they don't want to partake in some of these other things, but maybe employment is, maybe food services, maybe whatever it might be. That's what that's what I would add. Okay.
Ken, the money's in the mail. You're after my own heart on that partnership thing, as you and I know about.
Of course, you bet.
So, all right. Last thing before I get back to Adam. If you have other ideas or other thoughts, or you hear from other people, please feel free to send those to Adam and I. And what we can do is we can take that information and we'll work over the next few weeks to kind of pull a survey together. And hopefully, if not the next meeting, maybe the meeting after, we'll have kind of a draft survey to bring to the team to look at a little bit better and kind of go from there. Okay. So Adam, thank you for this time. I think it's been very helpful.
Absolutely. Thank you, Gus. I appreciate it. And I do have to say that Aubrey's idea got my wheels thinking, because, that doing a survey like that, when you ask for benefits, you could really ask for benefits specific to that theater of combat, because we know there's benefits tied to specific combat theaters, right? So Vietnam veterans have specific benefits tied to their service. OIF veterans have certain benefits tied to their service. So I think that could be key in really narrowing down, and we can gather quite a bit of data on that with all that, and see what it is that is missing from each era. But yeah, I just wanted to say that. Member updates. I didn't get any member update. Amy, do we have any member updates? Did anybody fill out?
No member updates.
No. Okay. Any public comments? Okay, and actually, I just wanted to see if Commissioner Salvis, did you have anything to add in terms of the questionnaire or the survey?
Yeah, well, I thought one thing that I think Larry asked the question, what again, or what is the purpose of the survey? And I'm gleaning that the purpose is to draw veterans to the services available. And so is that a yes? That's pretty much the purpose. Okay. So if so, I don't know what the questions are, but it might be for the next meeting, it might be advantageous to have a list of some of the questions that would do that. And one of them that just seems natural to me that might draw is, because people think about convenience. And I know that, if they were to find out, are you aware that there's a VSO office or a veteran service office in Clackamas County? That could be a question that might be an educational question, because obviously they're saying, oh, there's one in Clackamas County. If they knew there's something local, they might not be aware at all that there's a local service where they can learn more about that. So that might be something that is, number one, a question, but it's also educational.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that very much, Commissioner. That's true, because when you just say, do you know that there's VSOs available, you might not, it would help to know where they are, and to know that something's local. Like you said, it does make a huge difference. That once you find out that there's something local around, it's like you're probably more likely to try to get those services because they're here. So thank you. I appreciate that. If there's no, and Amy, you said there's no public comments?
There's one hand raised from Ken.
Oh, okay, go ahead, please.
I think he forgot to put his
I
forgot to put
think,
his hand
I
up.
think that's exactly what I did.
But
All right.
if I may,
Yeah.
Adam, real quick, just on
Sure.
Commissioner Savez's comment and tying it in with what Ken said earlier. I think Commissioner Savez hit the nail on the head that we need to really do what we can to educate folks that there are services here in Clackamas County that are specifically designed for veterans. What I may do, if I could, to kind of add to it, so it's kind of into the Ken's comment, is maybe asking the question along the lines of, are you aware there are services available in Clackamas County specifically for veterans? See, now we get, if somebody says no, or they say yes, then, it helps us, we could ask some other questions if we wanted to, or it hooks them in, like Ken said. So I think we can capture though what you said, Commissioner Salvez, of just getting people into our offices, and we literally have 3 different areas that are providing services for veterans in Clackamas County. So.
All right. Thank you, Gus. And again, if there's no other comments or anything like that, I just want to thank you guys for being here, everyone for being here. Thank you, Commissioner Savas, for joining us. I really appreciate your attendance. I know I'm not alone when I say it's great knowing that our commissioners are taking an active role in this. We really do appreciate your time because we know you guys are all busy. At this point, I will take a motion to adjourn. Oh, we don't have a quorum though, huh? So we can't really do that, right?
No, we don't have a quorum today.
So then, do I just adjourn?
Say au revoir.
Yes, go ahead.
Have a good one. Thanks, guys.
Harvey, if I could keep you on for a couple of minutes, that'd be great.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you, Adam. Have a good one, Ken and Adam.
Thank you too. I'm trying to get out of here. All right, see you.